Hello, Junie B. Jones. We are starting a new book because we finished our last one and we need to read this one right before Christmas. So it's Junie B. First Grader. Jingle bells, Batman smells, P.S. so does May. So for some of these chapters, because this is a longer book, it's a 10-chapter book, we are going to be reading 2 chapters each day, but not every single day. So just today, we're going to be reading just chapter 1, which is called Peace and Goodwill. So she's writing in her journal. Dear first grade journal, yay, yay, hooray. Today is the last week before winter break. Winter break is the school word for I gotta get out of this place, I tell you, because Blabbermouth May is driving me crazy. She is tattletaling on me every day almost. That's how come yesterday I chased her down on the playground and I threw grass on her head. It was very fun, except I hope Santa did not see me do that. That guy watches me like a hawk this time of year. From Junie B, first grader. P.S. Hey, wait, I almost forgot. Today all the first grades are going to sing holiday songs together. That will be a hoot, I tell you, because just then I quick stopped writing because I couldn't believe my eyeballs. That Snoopy head May was stretching her neck across the aisle and she was reading my journal page. I slammed my book shut speedy fast. That is under your beeswax, sister, I said, but May was already jumping out of her chair. Mr. Scary, Mr. Scary, she hollered real loud. Junie Jones wrote a bad name about me in her journal. She wrote that I'm a blabbermouth and bladder is not a bladdermouth, and bladder is not a nice word. I rolled my eyes at that comment. It's not a bladdermouth, it's a blabbermouth, May, I said. Blabbermouth is spelled with B's, not D's. Mr. Scary stood up at his desk. Girls, please, he said. Then he was going to growl at us, probably, but the phone rang from the office and he had to answer it. I crossed my arms at May. B is the same letter that you always forget when you say my name, remember? And so maybe I could use a B in a sentence for you. I leaned close to her eardrum. Dear Blabbermouth May, my name is Junie B. Jones. How can't you remember the B, huh, May? Huh? Are you a blockhead or something? May's face got all puffy. Then all of a sudden, she grabbed my journal right off my desk and she started to rip out the page. I tried to grab it back from her, but May would not let go of that thing. And so me and her got into a tuggle. I pulled real hard, then May pulled harder, then oomph. I pulled and pulled all of my might, and me and my journal went flying back to my seat. I hugged my book all safe and sound, but something did not feel right. I looked down. During the tuggle, May's sweater sleeve accidentally got hooked on my thumb, and so, oh no, her sleeve got stretched across the aisle with me. I quick untangled it from my thumb, but that sleeve did not bounce back. Instead, it just stayed on my lap real longish and droopish. I did a gulp at that thing. Then, very slow, I looked over at May, and kaboom! Her whole stack blew off. She exploded out of her seat and she hollered at the top of her lungs, Mr. Scary, Mr. Scary, Junie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve. Junie Jones wrecked my sweater sleeve. Mr. Scary hung up the phone. I quick wadded up May's sleeve and I tried to give it back to her, but she would not even take it. And so the sweater sleeve, I can't say that. Sweater sleeve unrolled itself onto the floor. May's eyeballs popped out of her head. Ah! Ah! It's all the way to the floor, she yelled. It's ruined! It's ruined! My sweater is ruined! I tapped my fingers, very thinking. Well, the whole sweater isn't ruined, actually. It's just the one sleeve, May, I said kind of quiet. If you grow one arm to the ground, it will feel like a glove, probably. May opened her mouth to holler again, but Mr. Scary was already hurrying down our row. He did not say a word to us. Instead, he took May and me by our hands and he rushed us into the hall. May's sweater sleeve dragged on the floor behind her. She picked it up real limp. Look at this, just look at it, Mr. Scary. She growled, Junie Jones wrecked my sweater. Junie Jones wrecks everything. I did a mad breath. I do not wreck everything, I said. In any way, this wasn't even my fault. You're the one who started it, May. You're the one who stole my journal. Mr. Scary looked down at me. Stole, he said. The word is stole, Junie B, not stoled. I sucked to my cheeks, because that was not the time for grammar. Fine, she stole my journal, I said. She just grabbed it right off my desk and she tried to rip out a page. May kept on arguing, but I only took her journal because she wrote a bad name about me, she said. I stamped my foot. But May wouldn't even know about the name if she didn't snoop, I said. Snooping is someone's journal is an invasion of their privacy. Mr. Scary did a low frown. She said piracy. He said privacy. It's an invasion of privacy, Junie B, not piracy. I threw my head back. For the love of Pete, can't you just let it go? I'm trying to make a point here, I said. Mr. Scary glared his eyes. He said for me to calm myself down, young lady. I jumped all the way in the air. I am calm, I hollered back. After that, I got marched speedy quick to the water fountain and had to drink some sips of water and settle myself. I drank and settled. Then I wiped my mouth and I rocked back and forth on my feet, kind of nervous. Sorry, I said real quiet. Sorry I got mad, Mr. Scary. I looked up at him. Sometimes the grammar makes my head explode, I said. Mr. Scary smiled a bit. Then he took me back to May and he talked to us in a calm voice. I really don't understand your behavior lately, girls, he said. The holidays are the time of year when you try to spread peace and goodwill, but you two are treating each other worse and worse every day. Me and May pointed at each other. It's her fault, we shouted. Mr. Scary shook his head. I don't care whose fault it is, he said. If you two have another fight today, there will be no holiday sing-along for either of you. Instead, you'll be parking yourselves in the principal's office for the afternoon. My body did a shiver at those words. Because I've parked at principal's before, that's why. And there's not a lot of singing that goes on down there. So what's it gonna be, girls? Said my teacher. Do you want to shake hands and make up, or do you want to spend the afternoon in the office? My eyes glanced over at May. She was standing still as a statue, and her eyes were staring at the floor. I waited and waited for her to shake hands with me, but she did not look up. Finally, Mr. Scary tapped his annoyed foot at us. Well, he said. I waited some more, but May did not budge herself. That's how come I picked a big loud breath, and I picked up May's long sweater sleeve, and I gave it a shake. There, fine, I shaked with her, I said. Shook, said Mr. Scary. Whatever, I said. Then I dropped the sleeve back on the floor and I kicked it over to May with my foot. She did a gasp. Then she quick picked it up and swatted the dirt off my pants. Swatted the dirt off on my pants, so she got the dirt on her pants. Hey, quit it, I yelled. Mr. Scary snapped his loud fingers at us. May stopped swatting. I was just getting the dust out, she said. Mr. Scary filled his cheeks with air, and he let it out real slow. Then he took us by our hands again, and we walked back to room 1. Peace and goodwill do not come easy. That's the end of chapter 1. I guess we'll have to see if they go to the principal's or if they're gonna be able to sing in the sing-along. Maybe later.